Okay, thank you for joining us today, Taiba, in this podcast called Brain and You.
Thank you, Vendita. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. The purpose of today's podcast will be for parents to identify from your journey, from your parenting style, and what are the different key um, maybe hacks that you apply, the learnings you got, the takeaways you have, certain myths that you want to break, and something that can be very handy and useful for the parents who watch this. So we will
Sure.
try to go through questions that my set of community have come to me with. And I'll give you a bit of a background. So you may know that Ayurveda works very closely with neurodiverse families, especially
Yeah.
children, through nutrition. So now, so far, we have catered to about 500,000 children. And because we closely work with those families, we speak to those parents on a regular basis. There are some things that have come out in terms of, I think, as initially what happens is acceptance is an issue. And
Yeah.
then what happens is by the time you're ready to accept, maybe a couple of years go there, um, you don't know what is the best first step that you should take. And
Yeah.
then you are in a hurry because you've not really accepted properly, so you keep shopping around in a way that
Yeah.
I will go from one center to the other, one school to the other, one therapist to the other.
Yeah.
um, and then finally, maybe when the child is about 8 to 10 years old, is when um, there aren't many facilities where the child can go, especially in
Yeah.
India. And then the only choice you have is to keep him at home and maybe do homeschooling. And in that whole process, I think what gets missed, if you ask me, is trying to fix the child becomes something, whereas
Yeah.
not really working on the child for him to excel in what he is good at.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
so this is a narrative that we have learned from our set of community. So let's keep it very, very simple, plain, so that parents can understand. So let me start. Let me start with my first question. So, Taiba, start by giving me some background about you, your family, your son.
Sure. So, I was born and raised in the UK. I was a dentist, so I graduated with a degree in dentistry from the University of Bristol, and two degrees from there. And then while I was there, I also won the clinical research prize in my year. So for like independent research that we had to do. So I've always, and that's the part of my degree that I loved. So the research part. So I finished university when I was 24. Then I became a mum at 28. So I had beautiful, amazing son, and he didn't really have when he was born, he didn't really have many autism symptoms at all. Like he was a little bit fussy with his food, but that's about it. But otherwise he had eye contact. He had words. He was talking. He could name colors. Um, Hi, bye. He was fine. Like he was an early walker. Everything was going well. And then when he was 20 months old, he had suddenly had a skills regression where within
Yeah.
4 weeks he stopped talking. He stopped having eye contact. He now couldn't get off the ground to walk. So his like legs would buckle. He wouldn't walk anymore. And it was such a sudden
Yeah.
thing. He also stopped feeding himself. He was like, we have videos of him at 18 months old feeding himself with a knife and fork. And then suddenly he would eat like one bite of food, like zabardasti nadar, like by force, um, every 2 days. Like he would just completely stop eating. So it was really scary for us. I have two sisters who are teachers, and they knew that if a child has skills and then loses those skills, so they had words and then stopped speaking,
Okay.
um, they that's a sign of autism. So first I was like, no, I was also in that denial period. I thought, no, he can't have autism because this must just be a phase because he used to talk. He used
Yeah.
to be able to walk. So I'm sure this is just a phase. But then after it didn't take me that long. So within about 2 or 3 months, I was like, okay, well, I think this is getting serious because I doesn't seem like a phase anymore. Where he was learning things every day and just growing and developing, that suddenly stopped.
Yeah.
So I also went to like the UK doctors and the UK health visitor. And in the UK, we have like a national health service, but it's very famous for being not that great. So he had all the appointments necessary, and I felt like and they made all the referrals. So they referred him for speech and language therapy, occupational therapy, physiotherapy, and everything. So after like waiting on the waiting list for that, I got my first appointment, and I felt like in that appointment, all they were doing was decreasing my expectations of him rather than trying to spend that time to actually help him. And then they offered him one 30-minute appointment every 8 to 12 weeks. And I was like, well, and I just knew that that wasn't going to be enough to help him.
Mm,
And for me, seeing my son so behind compared to, all his cousins, compared to everyone, always by himself, no words, really anxious, that was heartbreaking.
mm,
So I just realized like I have to be the one to help him. And where I had that dentistry background, that research background, I had the confidence enough to do that.
mm,
Um, One of the big questions I got from like whenever I asked like in one of the doctors or the physiotherapist or any of his therapists, like, why did this happen? Why did this happen? And the only answer I got was it's genetic.
okay.
That's it, it's genetic. He was born like this. And I was like, no, he wasn't born like this because he had words, he had
Mm,
eye contact. Something has changed. And they were like, no, he always had autism. It's just that he started showing symptoms later. And I was like, this doesn't make
yeah,
sense. Like,
yeah,
autism is a description of symptoms, and he never had that before. So I just realized they weren't going to be the ones to help me. So I
yeah.
decided to help him myself.
Regression is something I have heard very commonly from our parents.
Yeah,
This is something
same.
very, very common that I've heard that
Yeah,
my child was absolutely fine.
yeah.
Then what happened suddenly? So tell me, go back to that time and tell me that, or maybe if you were to do it again today, what is one thing that you will do the moment you see that the child is regressing?
Well, the moment what happened, so what I would say to do the moment it happens is what I actually did like 3, 4 months later, which is like looking at the root causes of autism. So I looked at the biological causes of autism because I didn't believe that it was genetic. No one in my family has autism where they're non-verbal, no eye contact, and no one in my husband's family has that as well. But the only explanation that they give you is genetic. But it's not genetics, not in our family. And he wasn't like this when he was born. So I just felt like it wasn't genetic. And that was the only answer they were giving me. So what I actually did was I went to the research and tried to I find out what's the biological causes of autism. And then that's when I learned about gut health. That's when I learned about methylation, heavy metal toxicity.
Hmm.
So every time I learned something, I was like, okay, so once I learned that autistic children have a more inflamed gut, that they are more
Yeah,
likely to have leaky gut.
yeah,
Well, that's once I learned that, I was like, okay, how can I make it not inflamed?
better.
How can
Hmm,
I make it healed gut and not leaky
hmm,
anymore? So then I took steps to do that. So I put him on an anti-inflammatory diet,
hmm.
um, and then made all of those changes like that.
Yeah,
So everything that I did a few months later, I would do straight away,
I
and I
think I
would do
love
from
that. Hmm.
day one
I
for
love that.
prevention as
Yeah.
well.
Hmm. I'm actually
It's
very glad that I'm discussing that, for the second time in a row, something like this is coming forward where some parent is pushing gut health
yeah,
and diet
absolutely,
forward.
100%.
And that is the last thing that I've seen parents worry about. Whereas I also feel that should be the first thing. And these days, so what I do, Taiba, I don't know if you're aware, I try to take a lot of webinars with parents. My only intention is please get to know the role food can play in your child's life.
Yeah,
And,
absolutely.
therapy is good. Everything else is good and as necessary. But don't leave this something. I think at least this food is in your control. Maybe you're not a
Absolutely.
therapist, you're going to another person, and you're like you said, a lot of parents have this wait list, yeah, of 3 months, four
Yeah.
months. So yeah, I love that.
But
Tell me, huh?
another thing about food is I find that like in our society, like especially the Western society, they will put so much emphasis on like one tablet. So they say, okay, if I have this like medicine, like if I have this one tablet, it will cause it will have a cause a chemical reaction in my body, which means that my fever will go away, my pain will go away, and in that one 500 milligram tablet. But that person is still having thousands of kilograms of food every single month, every single year.
Yeah.
And that is also causing chemical reactions in their body
Mm.
and causing behavior changes and mood changes and
Yeah.
it's like autism symptoms and other like disruptive symptoms, but they won't account for that. But they put a lot of emphasis on one tiny 500 milligram
Yeah.
tablet, but not on the thousands of kilograms of food that they're eating.
True. True.
And another thing about our food supply, sorry, another thing about
Yeah.
our
Yeah.
food
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
that like when we like grow food like chickens and sheep and they are being filled with like antibiotics
Hormones.
and hormones. So your food, so they're being given all the medicines and antibiotics as well. And then so they're still having the medicines. And if you're not eating organic, you're eating it as well.
Yeah.
So another thing I think like the rise of depression in our society, where you eat like an animal diet, like if you're eating like chicken or all these animals, they're not seeing the sunlight. They're
Mm.
stuck in
Yeah.
factories
Yeah.
and then they're
Yeah.
depressed. They're not
Yeah.
getting fresh air. They're not walking
Yeah.
around. They haven't seen the sun. They
Yeah.
have depression chemicals inside them. And then
Yeah.
if we're eating those animals, we're having depression chemicals
True.
inside of us.
True.
So
True.
there's so much going on here. It's not as
Yeah.
simple anymore.
Yeah. And there's a recent study, while it's a new study, which came out that Parkinson's is not really a brain disorder as much as it is a gut disorder.
Yeah, I saw that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's so much going on like that as well.
Yeah.
Like even
Yeah.
epilepsy, there's a
Yeah.
lot to say that it's not a
Yeah.
brain disorder, it's a gut disorder. But
Yeah.
where the brain and the gut are linked, so
Yeah.
your brain will
Nerve.
talk to your gut. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Your brain talks to your gut all day and your gut talks to your brain all day. That it's they're really connected, they're one and the same.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
even when we were embryos and we were just being formed in our mum's bodies, the gut tissue and the brain tissue were the same. So they were
Mm.
originally one thing and then they
Mm.
split. So that's
Mm.
why if you look in pictures, the brain and the like intestines actually look similar. They actually
Mm.
were the same at one point.
Mm.
So
Mm.
yeah,
That's
they're one
interesting.
and the same.
Okay.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
food is a
Yeah.
very important
Yeah.
for brain health.
So when when we were making our nutritional products, what we went through was this kind of tons and tons of research which is available on NIH around different food sources for brain and
Okay.
the Ayurvedic herbs for brain
Yes.
and how metal can really harm the brain. So everything put
Absolutely.
together. I don't know how much you know about the products that we do, but it was very surprising in the beginning that while we knew that they are good, but they can be this good as something that
Yeah.
now suddenly started coming out after we started doing a bit of more research.
Yeah.
And it actually falls in line with the basic principle of eating food, not supplements,
Yeah.
eating
Absolutely.
foods which are, providing you iron, dopamine, but foods. I mean, I keep telling
Yeah.
parents it is not about the tonics. You
Yeah.
can't be surviving on a tonic. It has to be real food. But I'm very glad that, there's so much emphasis that you're putting on food because I think it is one of the three pillars that you have to keep in mind, especially for anybody,
Completely
rather.
agree. Absolutely. When
Yeah.
you say about the three pillars, is the other two pillars exercise and sleep?
Yeah.
Yeah. Then you're
Yeah.
right, is one of the three pillars, food, exercise, and sleep for
Yeah.
everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whether you wanted exercise or therapy, whatever you want to call it, I mean, these are the three pillars.
Yeah, absolutely. Completely
And they're
agree.
just,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. Okay. I move on to the next thing that,
Right. And Vendita, another thing I wanted to add was, you're saying it's not about tonics, it's about food. Our like for like thousands of years and millions of years, we only ate food. So our body, we've been evolved to know how to digest food and how to
yeah.
absorb food. So
Yeah.
when it comes to like a tonic, it doesn't
Yeah.
have the best reaction. You're not getting it all of the you're not utilizing it all in your
Mm.
digestive system because your
Mm.
body doesn't have the experience of
Mm.
knowing how to handle that.
True.
But with food, they've got like, thousands of years or tens of thousands of years of knowing
Mm.
how to take the nutrients and absorb whole foods. So you're
Yeah.
right, it's all about the food. The tonics are just there, but
Ultimately,
food
it
should
is
be number
about
one.
the absorption, like you're saying. It's about the absorption.
Absolutely.
People don't
Yeah,
get it. They just feel iron tonic in the mouth, done. We are done with iron, but they don't know that nothing's really getting in the body. Yeah,
literally. Yeah, I completely agree.
yeah. So Taiba, today, when uh, when parents come to you, I'm sure
Yeah.
a lot of parents come to you because you are an advocate of this field now. How do you counsel the parents? What is it that you tell them? What is that one piece of advice that you give them?
So, the one piece of advice I give a parent is to attend my webinar. So I do a free monthly webinar every single month where
Mm,
I, because of the all the experience I had with my son, where I looked at all the known biological causes of autism and addressed them one by one. So majority of children have more than one cause for their autism. So in my 7-step autism action plan, we address every single cause one by one. So every time we address a cause, their child gets a bit better. And then until they
mm.
suddenly become a lot better. And when they become a lot better, the parent stops talking to you because they don't need you anymore.
Yeah,
So,
that's excellent. Yeah.
so the one piece of advice I would give a parent is that this information isn't really put together like how I did it, where all of the causes of autism are put in one neat step-by-step package. So to
Mm.
attend my webinar, which I run every single month,
Okay.
on a Sunday, really. So, and you can register for that on my website. So, and you'll learn about all the biological causes of autism and how to help your child start reaching their milestones.
Okay. And now when you look back, what do you think was the one best decision that you took that changed the course of future for your son?
Okay, the best decision I took was not to rely on other people to help my child, but to learn to help him myself.
Mm.
So I think it's very common in this, like in this country or in this society, where if you have a problem, you want to outsource it. Who can help me with my problem?
Yeah.
And then you think, okay, I need to put a special educational needs school. I need to book him or her a therapist every single day, and that should solve the problem. But no one, but the biggest impact on a child's life is really what their parents do and how their parents are with them. And that's concrete
Yeah.
scientific proof.
100%.
Like, so,
100% agree.
so if you want to help your child, and to start becoming more confident, conversational, and calmer, it really does start with what the mum or the dad is doing at home with the child
Mm.
and what they're feeding the child,
Mm.
and way more than impact. That's going to have a much bigger impact for the whole child's
Mm.
life than like a
Mm.
half an hour appointment every other day. It's
So while we are at this, that parents should do something with their child. It is basically the parent doing everything for the child. My question is, what can the parents do at home? Any particular exercise or activity or game or whatever? What can a parent do at home to achieve better outcomes?
so my whole program is home based. So I only work with the parents. So everything is about what a parent does at home. So should I
Mm.
just go through the 7 steps? You want?
Maybe
Oh,
I can ask that as a separate question then.
okay, sure. So
So here,
so
maybe I'll repeat the previous question also. This is for the reel. So if you answer
yeah.
something like this and this, it can
Okay.
work better as a reel. And then a separate question, which I've written here is, can you take us through your 7-step program? So that this we
Okay.
can cover. Yeah.
Sure.
So maybe I'll just repeat the question.
Yeah, sure. Repeat the question.
Okay. So what can the parents do at home to achieve higher results?
Okay, I think the number one thing that a parent can do at home to improve the child's brain health is really fix the nutrition.
Okay.
So that's so essential. So to really be mindful of what your child's eating, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and snacks, making sure it's not ultra high processed, making sure everything
Yeah.
is homemade, full of green plants, full of like herbs
Whole
and
grains.
yeah, all the like mixtures and
Yeah.
ingredients. It's
Yeah.
so healthy for you, and that's going to have a bigger impact on how well your child sleeps, how fast they start
Yeah.
talking, and
Yeah.
how calm they are than
Yeah.
anything else.
And I think these are the three main things that a person struggles with, that my child is not sleeping and he's hyperactive,
Yeah,
he's moody, he has meltdowns. Very true,
yeah,
things like iron. I mean,
yeah,
very, very simple things. How iron impacts the gut and gut is connected to sleep and sleep is connected. All these, everything is just so interconnected.
absolutely.
You cannot, yeah, I mean, it's amazing the more deep you go.
Yeah. You know, I remember learning like years ago that the best, so growing up, we thought that exercise is really good for your heart and really good for your lungs. But that's like another myth to bust because the biggest organ that the exercise has an impact on is your brain. So whether that's, and I think we can all relate to this, where if you are in a bad mood, you're angry or you're upset or you've got bad news, you go for a 15-minute walk, you feel better. Like that
Mm,
exercise has a difference on your mood.
mm,
When you're working on a big project and you're out of ideas, you go for a
mm,
10-minute walk, you go for a 15-minute run, you do some sort
mm,
of like dancing or activity, you now have the best idea. It
mm,
doesn't come while
mm.
you're sitting at a desk.
True.
It's exercise is good for your brain. It's best for your brain, even more
Mm,
so than your heart and your lungs.
mm.
So it's
True.
it's really, really
I,
essential.
I'm going to repeat one previous question, um, which is what is that? I don't know which one did I ask you? How do you counsel? Yeah, let me repeat that question so that if you have one point answer to that, then that can be a separate piece of content. That how do you counsel the parents who come to you today, seeing the progress in your son?
So for me, for my son is different from their child. So I will try and find that child's biological cause for their autism symptoms and then help them through that. So that's like one sentence.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay, 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 okay.
yeah,
Um, while you touched on the myth, but I'm going to repeat this question more from autism perspective, that
sure.
is there a myth that you would want to break?
Yes, that autism is genetic and there's
Mhm,
nothing you can do about it. Autism is biological, but it's not
mm,
just genetic, it's epigenetic. So
mm,
just because you have the gene for autism doesn't mean you're going
mm,
to show symptoms. Just like
mm,
you may have the gene for obesity, doesn't mean your destiny is to be obese. Your lifestyle depends on how that gene switches on or switches off. So epigenetics is
mm.
way more important than genetics.
What is
And
that one, what is that one thing that you feel parents mostly do wrong?
um, I think having the attitude that um, there's nothing we can do about it,
Mm,
and or that it's the school's problem now. But
mm,
also in our Asian culture, I tell the parents, because I mostly work with Asian people as well. I say that our child, like in our culture, our child is our problem when they're 5, when they're 15, when they're 25, and when they're 45. And you want your child to be talking, like obviously out of nappies and
mm,
independent and conversational.
mm,
So you ever, and that's going to be a lot easier to do at 5 than 15. It's going to be a lot easier to do at 15 than 25. And it's going to be easier to
mm,
do at 25 than 45. So don't,
mm.
the problem really isn't just going to solve itself. The earlier you address it, the better their
Yeah,
long-term outcomes are going to be.
yeah, yeah. Acha, tell me more about your 7 week, no, tell me more about your 7 step plan that you have made on
Sure.
autism.
So when I was so when I was trying to help my own son, I tried to look at all of the known biological causes of autism and create a way that I can address all of them so that he'd start being, confident and conversational and calmer. So and then that's how I created the 7-step autism action plan. So I'll just go through the steps. So step 1 is optimize oxytocin. So oxytocin is a really powerful hormone that we all have in our bodies,
Mm-hmm.
and it's essential for bonding and it's essential for learning new skills. So step 1 is all about coaching parents on strategies on how to boost their child's oxytocin so that they can start learning new skills faster and start being more bonded and more connected to the family. Step 2 is break down blood. So often there are other reasons for a child's autism symptoms, which are biological, but they are confused for autism symptoms. So just give you an example for that. There's someone who's in my program at the moment who has a lot of autism symptoms, but we've had their bloods tested, 3 times, each time 2 months apart, and it's showing as hyperthyroidism. So that child is irritable, poor sleep, has muscle tremors in their hands, and all of it was told, it was all told to them that they have these are autism symptoms. The reason they're irritable, autism. The reason they have poor sleep, autism. The reason they have muscle tremors, that's stemming from autism. But there's actually another medical reason there. So you can, so in my step two breakdown blood, there's a set like a list of essential biomarkers that I will get the parent to test for
Okay.
to see if there's any other medical reason going on and if there's any biomarkers that we can boost. So like iron, you've spoken about a few times. If it's in optimum, then your child will concentrate better. And
Mm,
that's another thing that parents will say that their child has poor focus.
mm.
So
Yeah.
so that's all in step two. Step three is grasp the gut brain bond. So that's
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
about gut health
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
how to boost your child's gut health, which again boosts their brain health.
Mm,
Step four is take down toxins. So step
yeah.
four is all about the fact that autistic children are more likely to have a higher concentration of heavy metals inside their body. So as part of step four, we first identify the sources of heavy metals in their environment so that we can eliminate it. And then we also boost the health of their gut and their liver so that they're working better to detoxify heavy metals from the body. So basically remove them from the body. And usually after that step, children become way more engaged, more conversational, have much more better awareness. I heard loads of great reviews about that step. So
Mm,
one of my previous clients said after she did it, her son started helping around the house more.
mm,
She was able to have conversations with him. So
mm.
detoxing from heavy metals is really effective.
No,
Alhamdulillah.
it calms the mind down, clearly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Yeah. So all that brain
Reduces
fog goes
hyperactivity.
away,
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
reduces hyperactivity as well. Yeah. Step five is solve with supplements. So there are a few certain supplements that if you take them,
Mm,
can help autistic children. So like omega-3 is a very common one.
mm,
Fish oil. So and a few other supplements so that what I will do is work with the parents and see what would be best for their child.
mm,
Um, steps then so also on my program, no one is taking a lot of supplements. It's all like a maximum of like four. No one's taking 10 or 12 things a day. I don't believe like you said, the answer
mm,
should come from food, not
mm,
supplements or tonics.
mm, mm,
They're just supplementary.
mm.
Step six is charge the cerebellum. So the cerebellum
Yeah.
is an area on the back of your brain,
Yeah. Yeah.
which
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
10% of the size of your brain, but has
Yeah.
up to 80% of the brain's connections in it. And the cerebellum is smaller in autistic children compared to
Mm,
neurotypical children.
mm,
So, but there are ways that you can increase the size of your cerebellum,
mm,
um, which are just like there's ways that you can increase the size of your muscles
mm,
through like diet and intentional
mm,
exercise.
mm,
There's ways you can increase the size of your cerebellum and
mm.
then therefore decreasing your child's autism symptoms.
True. I'll just add one thing there while
Go
we are
for it.
on cerebellum and parts. So, just very, very quickly that when we do webinars, the way you do a seven-step plan, we focus on five parts of the brain. So we say
Okay.
there is prefrontal cortex, there is amygdala, there is cerebellum, there is hippocampus, and
Yeah.
there is insula. And whatever research says, these are, while mostly affected parts of the brain. And like you
Yeah.
said, cerebellum mostly about, balance, body coordination and balance. Um, Exercises, there are some kind of yoga exercises, yoga,
Yes.
yeah, which really, really help to build that part.
Yeah. That's
Yeah,
part of my program as well.
that's
Those yoga
amazing. I mean,
exercises.
we should try to do a session together.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
sounds good.
amazing. Yeah, yeah. So next step.
Step seven is empower emotions. So it's all about how to teach emotional literacy to your autistic child.
Mm,
So autistic individuals are four times more likely to have depression, anxiety,
mm,
and bipolar disorder compared to
mm,
neurotypical individuals.
mm,
So when I learned that fact, and it's quite commonly known that autistic individuals struggle with social connections.
mm,
Um, so social connections and friendship and family, they're the best part about life. Like
mm,
you can have like £1 billion, but if you don't have, a
mm,
loving husband or wife or family or kids, you feel very poor. So
mm,
the best thing about life is your social connections, and
mm,
autistic individuals generally struggle with them.
mm.
So for me, step seven is all about how to teach your child emotional literacy. Just
Yeah,
like you can teach them other skills, you
yeah.
can teach them all about self-awareness and
Yeah.
their own emotions and
Oh,
understanding other people's emotions so that
yeah.
it's easier for them to form friendships.
Yeah.
And with an awareness of their own emotions and the
Yeah.
words to describe them and
Yeah.
knowing how to release them from their body, inshallah, that like prevents depression and
True.
anxiety, which they're more likely to
Yeah.
have statistically.
And the part of the brain that monitors this or takes care of this is amygdala. So when
Yeah,
I look at that part of the brain, I look at it from nutrition. I'm a nutrition person. I
yeah,
look at it from nutrition lens, that what is it that you can consume that can strengthen your amygdala, which ultimately links to what you're saying, that when you strengthen that, this is what happens, and that leads to a better quality of life, a much more
absolutely.
secure child, a child which
Absolutely.
has less tantrums and meltdowns. And
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, this is amazing.
we're
I
on
mean,
the same page.
I just love these 7 steps. In a
Thank
way, we
you.
are doing similar. You have presented it in a different way, but ultimately, I think the goal is the same, to have
Absolutely.
a child who is emotionally regulated. He knows what he's doing,
Yeah.
what he wants.
Yeah.
Yeah,
More
that's amazing.
confident, conversational, and
Confident.
calmer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, this has been wonderful, Daiba. I loved it. I just loved my session today with you. We
Thanks,
spoke about
Vendita.
all my favorite topics, nutrition, food, diet. Yeah, so thank you. Thank you for today.
Thanks for having me. I've really
And
enjoyed our conversation too.